Welcome to the Black Queens on Stage podcast, presented by Black Literature and Art Queens Network, where we bring our queens to the stage. Welcome to the podcast where we honor and acknowledge Black women performers and discuss topics of equity, diversity, and inclusion. My name is Ashley M. Lyle, and I am joined here today with the immensely talented nerdcore rapper, Crimson Alchemist. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm great. You know, I'm glad that we got this opportunity to finally sit down and get the chance to actually talk. For those that don't know, I was working with Seth Ressler of The Debrief up until the coronavirus hit, and then we had to put this podcast on pause. I wasn't satisfied with the original recording, so I am just so blessed today that I got the chance to talk with you again, Crimson, and redo this episode.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed myself the first time, so it was a lot of fun. So doing this is my first time actually doing like an interview type deal through a podcast, just virtually. So this is pretty cool.
Well, okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's no other way to do it right now because I am completely stuck in the house. Thankfully, I have the kind of job that I have where I'm able to do some data entry work from home. So that's the good part.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into this interview. Why don't you tell me exactly what nerdcore is?
All right, so nerdcore, it specifies in pop culture references, anime, cartoons, a little bit of everything, because like what people don't realize as far as like nerdcore, it can venture off into so many different realms. Like you can talk about video games, you can actually talk about sports as well too, because there's a lot of artists out here that do wrestling metaphors and stuff like that. But overall pop culture references, anime, cartoons, stuff within that realm.
And why don't you explain real quick how you got your name? Because that's also a pop culture reference as well, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So years ago when I first, started taking music seriously, I had went by the name of Crimson Kid. At the time, I was about 17, 18 years old. So I already knew that I wasn't going to always go as Crimson Kid. So I decided to drop the kid part and add in Alchemist. And the name comes from one of my favorite characters from anime called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It was one of the antagonists. His name was Crimson Alchemist. And I thought it was a really dope name because the way that, I piece my bars together, it kind of reminds me, like, metaphorically, like alchemy. So that's how I came up with the name.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. When I first heard about you, for those that don't know, I am an avid cosplayer as well. And the first time I heard about you was at UMACon, which is normally in downtown Detroit at the Renaissance Center. And when I saw you on stage with a table full of men, I was completely excited. I'm like, she is the only chick up there and she is holding her own. Her music is just like surpassing all of these other brothers up here. And I was just so excited to get to really get to know you and to find out your creative process in regards to your rap career and how you get to writing your songs.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's definitely been a process. And like when I first started making music, I wasn't always considered a nerdcore artist. Honestly, I didn't hear about nerdcore, the subgenre, until my manager, Mark Cooper, shout out to him. He brought it to me and just introduced me to different artists like Mega Ran, Samus, and even technically Jean Grey would be like considered a nerdcore artist just with her references.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've always known about Youmacon, but never went. And it's funny because like when we had first met, that was actually my first time attending Youmacon.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So why don't you tell me the process of how you write your music?
So what I'll do is I will go through different production because I'm with a collective where we call ourselves Soundproof. So there's me. I'm a one trick pony. I just rap. Everyone else they produce, they DJ, and they also are hip hop artists as well.
Mhm.
So I'll go through their production, see which ones I like the most. I'll like jot down a couple. I'll brainstorm a couple of like scenarios for each song, and I'll go by that. Like perfect example, I have a track called "New Kid in Town." So for that track, like the first verse, I kind of reminisce about, when I got introduced to watching anime as a kid, getting out of school and rushing home to watch Toonami. Then like throughout the song, I'm just basically showing like my creativity as far as bringing up different references, anime references, like for the animes that I watched as a kid. And, I just bounce back around with different metaphors that, people my age or even older or younger would appreciate and say, like, hey, she mentioned Attack on Titan, or she mentioned Dragon Ball Z or Sailor Moon. So that's really what my process is. I try my very best to make my songs cater to not only, the people that, appreciate anime, but also those that aren't necessarily into anime but wouldn't, are open to, give it a try. So I try to cater to everyone as far as like making my songs.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And when I first started listening to your music, I um I was noticing, I really started noticing like several of the references, and for me being the big nerd that I am, I was like, "Oh, I know that one. Oh, I know that show. Oh, I know that one." So it's really interesting. I love when I hear rappers infuse pop culture references, especially ones that I know, because I tend to stay completely to myself and under a rock. So when it's something that I know, I'm really excited. So why don't you tell me how a nerdcore rapper finds their audience?
Well, it's a lot easier now because you have the power of social media.
Mhm.
So you can simply type in, nerdcore artists as a hashtag or even search it on Google and try to find your fan base there, because I didn't realize how many people like love nerdcore. It's there's so many people like all over the world. Just checking my stats with my music, I noticed like there's a lot of people like in the UK that love it, over in Canada, just a little bit of everywhere. So yeah, it's pretty easy to like try to find your fan base as far as like being a nerdcore artist. You just gotta like know where to look, and then also you can actually ask your friends as well. Like, hey, some people that might be interested in listening to, like for example, if you got a like My Hero Academia heavy metaphor track, ask them if they would, they know anybody that would like that. And it's really just pretty much networking and utilizing social media to your advantage.
How difficult was it to find your audience before social media?
Well, because the thing is, like, I can't. It's kind of difficult to even remember a time where I wasn't using like social media, because with Facebook, I joined Facebook back in what 2007. And shoot, how old was I in 2007? I was about 13, 14 in 2007.
Okay.
So yeah, so looking back and realizing like, wow, there hasn't been not one moment when I started, my hip hop career where I didn't have social media. But before then, like when I would be in high school and, just rap in different ciphers, that's kind of how people got word of mouth of like me even rapping, just going around the school, just rapping with different people and just talking. Basically the old school way, even though back then I wasn't, selling CDs or anything like that until after high school, just talking, conversing with people. And, my dad, back when he was younger, he was also a hip hop artist and a DJ. So he would teach me different ways to like, interact with people and like get into different ciphers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's so different telling my dad like what my process as far as like what he had to do back in the 90s when he was like heavy on making music. So yeah, there hasn't been a time where I didn't have social media to help promote my music.
So, what? Explain to me what a cipher is.
A cipher really like, from my understanding, just a gang of people like just taking turns rapping, showing their lyrical abilities and just, going back and forth with people. Nowadays, ciphers like are kind of looked at differently because in some aspects, you have some people that, get video recordings of people in ciphers and it'll still be like, about 5 or 6 people just, rapping or freestyling, whatever you want, as opposed to, just having a big crowd around. You don't really see that too much, especially now with a whole pandemic going on. But yeah, just, a group of people showing their lyrical abilities. It doesn't even have to have a specific scenario or anything like that. But yeah, whether it's written or freestyle.
Okay. And you were dropping a couple of different names of anime series. So, where do you find your references for nerd culture?
Definitely like from a lot of my favorite shows. Like I'll pick out specific things that certain any anime fan would be like, "Hey, I know what that is." And one of my tracks, Agni Kai. Anybody that sees the title, they'd be like, "Oh, okay, I see she's an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan." And in that song, like I mentioned, Zanpakuto's. So anime fan would be like, "Okay, so she watches Bleach. Okay, cool." Just pick out certain things that people that are fans of those animes would appreciate.
And I did notice that that title of Agni Kai. When I saw the title of it, I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." um, so you were mentioning your dad being a rapper and a DJ. Did he inspire you to become a rapper?
Absolutely. Yeah, like because I've been writing since I was about 8 years old. So actually it's crazy. I've been writing for 20 years. For 20 years. It's
Girl,
crazy
don't
even
even
thinking
act like
about
you
that.
that. You make it sound like you're so old. Please, please just don't.
But yeah, like what my dad used to do, he would have my cousins, because my cousins, they also rapped when they were younger, and like kids on my block, they would come over to my house and he would have like them rapping in a circle, just rap, having ciphers and stuff like that. Of course I didn't jump in because like what 8-year-old is gonna jump in a cipher and just start rapping?
I
But
mean, an old one would,
true, 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 true.
which I probably
But
think that you probably would have anyway.
true. But yeah, and just looking at them rap, it definitely inspired me into doing it myself. And I'm pretty sure back then, me rapping and then like showing being nervous, showing my dad, stuff that I wrote, I'm pretty sure he didn't think that I would get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is my career choice. This is what I want to do for a living.
What was the reaction that you got from your family when you told them that this is your career choice?
Well, at first, like my stepmom, she's a RN. So off
Mm.
rip, she really wanted me to go to school for nursing. Like I want to say she wanted all her kids to go to school for nursing, but I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it. And then I gave it a chance. I gave school a chance for about a year or two. I did a couple classes at WC3, and after a while, I'm like, this isn't really what, this isn't my calling. I like it. I gave it a chance. I tried it, and it's not really working out for me. And I've always loved music. Just being in those positions, especially in high school, and rapping, and people saying like, you're really good. Like you should do something with this. I took that leap of faith, and I was like, you know what? Sit school to the side, and try this and see how it goes. And it's been going really good.
And that's how important was it when you told your family, like how important was it for their support? They support you now, right? Because
Oh yeah,
how
yeah.
important was it when is their support when you finally told them that you were going to be a rapper?
I was nervous at first because, like, my dad, he's always been like, "Yeah, go for it," because just from his background and with
Hmm.
him making music. But at first, my stepmom and even my grandmother, they were like, "Ah, are you sure? It's risky, and there's no guarantee that you're gonna do make a profit out of it." And it took a while to like convince them, but excuse me, after having like events that I threw myself and having them come out and them seeing like so many people support me and everything that I do, it's crazy because like after the show, like talking to my grandmother and my stepmom, they were like, "You got it, you got it." Like it's only a matter of time where someone that can invest more into you, as far as finances, they come notice and help you out and get you to the next level. So yeah, at this point, especially after 10 years of doing this, they definitely believe now. So like it's really cool to have them at events that I throw, and them like nodding their heads to the music I perform. It's really great. I definitely appreciate them because there's a lot of people I know that their parents don't necessarily support the music, but I was blessed enough to have that support from both parents and my grandmother, and I appreciate it.
So why don't you talk to me about what it's like being a Black woman in a male dominated industry? Like what obstacles or challenges have you faced and how did you overcome them?
It's definitely a challenge. Even to this day, it's a challenge because like any artist is gonna have to like show their worth or show that they're talented and they're skilled in this. And for women, it's 10 times more difficult because being a woman, you're expect automatically, like when you tell other people like, hey, I rap, of course, other people on the outside looking in are gonna assume like, oh well, are you even good at it, so that's definitely a challenge because in a sense I have to work 10 times harder than the average male artist, to actually have people like listen and also demand my respect as well. And I've definitely come across the issue with, certain people trying to take advantage of the fact that I'm a woman and say like, hey, I can help you with this and help you with that, and at the same time have ulterior motives against me. So that's definitely been an issue, unfortunately. But as far as overcoming them, just seeing the signs, and I also like not just having like being book smart, but being street smart as well, because like it's all a game. Like the rap game, it's as similar as just life because you'll have people try to, scam you and all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely been a bunch of trials and tribulations that I've had to go through, and on top of that, being a woman in this industry, it's been a challenge, but I wouldn't have it any other way because each challenge is just a lesson, and just going through those lessons, I know not to like I know what the signs are and to not bump my head repeatedly with the same issues coming to me. Like I know how to evade those issues and things that come my way now.
So, I was talking to a another music performer. Her name is Elise King, and she's crazy talented. Her voice is absolutely gorgeous when she sings. She was talking about how she has to manage everything herself. She manages the tours, she manages her music group, her singers, her instrumental performers. But she says that she wants to get to a point where she just wants to be an artist and hire a manager. However, because of the fact that she's a woman, a lot of different venues that she's performed at haven't taken her seriously, and she's run into some complications. So would you say that for you, since you're under SoundCloud and your manager is Mark Cooper, would you say that because you have a male manager that you're able to get the gigs that you get? Do you think that you would have a
Absolutely.
harder time if you had a female manager?
It helps. It definitely helps having a male manager, but I feel like I would have issues either way. Like if I had a woman as a manager. The only difference is like if I were to have a woman as a manager, I would make sure like she's on her stuff. Like I appreciate Mark for everything that he does because Mark, he's nice. He's a great manager, but at the same time, he like especially when it comes to like my career, he will cut into someone. Like, okay,
Hmm.
we have to get down to business and here's what we can negotiate and here's her non-negotiables.
He's very
You
protective.
know, absolutely, absolutely, and it's funny because like being in soundproof and being the only girl a part of soundproof, I'm this average 5'6" woman, and then I have these huge guys around me, so wherever we go, it's like you can't get any like BS past them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
all of them are at least 6 foot, 6'1", and there's some solid guys.
Hmm.
So even if I were to have an issue with anyone like out in the world, they'll be right there at just at a snap. So yeah, and they're super protective of me.
Hmm. What's the relationship like with the other rappers since you're the only female rapper in SoundCloud?
They treat me like the little sister, and
Mhm.
on top of that, I'm the youngest as well. So
Oh, well then, yeah, so
they
then it has its benefits.
right.
It's like the youngest sibling being spoiled. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah. Like, and it's cool though. Like, I don't take any offense to it or anything like that because I know, like, with the three of them, well, four of them, including our our media page manager. Shout out to Kilo. He does a lot of promo for the group and everything too. So yeah, it's four guys and then myself.
hmm
If they see any like they're 9 times out of 10, if they see any negativity like coming towards my way, they're gonna peep it.
hmm
It'd come to the point where I wouldn't even know like something was about to happen until after the fact and we're gone. And they tell me like, hey, there was an issue, blah blah blah, but we avoided it, we prevented it. So just wanted to let you know what was going on. I was like, oh, well, I didn't even know. So and they do a real good job with that.
well, that's good because, and I think that it's really, really important for any artist to have that collective of people that look out for them. I know I myself, being in theater, I don't necessarily have a collective like say what you have, like a whole bunch of like older so-called brothers that help you in your business. But I do have a lot of I have my mentor, and then
Mm-hmm.
I have other actors who I consider mentors, even though they haven't really directly taught me anything, but
Mm-hmm.
learning from watching them and knowing their process, I feel like that it's like a collaborative work where me watching them and studying their work and working on my process helps me to become a better actress. And I think
Got you.
that's really, really important for an artist, period, to have like what you have or like what I have. So I that's a really good feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah, because like I didn't always have soundproof. Like I've been in different groups, since the beginning of my career, and I'm still cool with those guys, of course. But as far as having a solid team, and we're all in sync with each other, we all promote and help network with different people to get our music to one person to the next. We're very solid, and it's been the first. This is the first time I actually had a really solid team to get things done.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a good feeling to have that.
So why don't you explain a time where you had to work with a difficult person, whomever it was, but and explain to me how you overcame that issue with that person.
It's very rare because I've been lucky enough to not necessarily work with anyone that doesn't have any issues or anything like that. But there's a few instances, like mainly, not necessarily. Yeah, there's definitely been a time where, and it's really not necessarily artists. Like, don't get me wrong, there's artists out here that kind of like go above and beyond to make things difficult, like
Mhm.
especially like doing getting a feature from them and stuff like that. But it's really a lot more so of like promoters that like put you on shows and stuff like that. So yeah, there was definitely a time where I did a show and I had opened for a couple of bigger artists, and the promoter was very very difficult to deal with, only because it just being unorganized and the communication wasn't there. And I tell artists, different artists all the time, like, please be careful with some of these promoters that only care about making a quick buck,
Mhm.
because they're out here, they're definitely out here. They'll have these shows where they'll have 30 to 40 different artists, on the ticket. In a lot of cases, it's a pay to play type of situation where you pay for a slot and then you get a certain amount of time to perform. And, come showtime, you're waiting to perform the whole night. It's going on 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you still haven't performed. And you're now at this point, you're looking for the promoter saying, hey, when am I going on? When am I going on? And they're nowhere to be found, and you basically end up losing what, $100, $200, and not even perform at all. Luckily, I haven't been in that position, but I've had my issues with promoters that that'll try to get over on you because they see that you're, so to speak, the quote unquote starving artist, and like they feel as if artists out here are desperate to try to get their name out here and stuff like that, and they'll pay $200 to do that. So yeah, a lot of people will take advantage of that, unfortunately. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've come across that, but luckily, with having my team and especially Mark, we were able to take care of that situation. He like immediately pulled the promoter to the side because I would hear things about this promoter and stuff like that in the past. I actually worked with the promoter before and had issues, but now that I have a solid team, he was able to pull him to the side, let him know, hey, Crimson is gonna go at this time, and there's no negotiations about it. And the promoter was like, okay, well, like, we got you. And I was able to perform, and I did an excellent job, and I was able to network with different artists that were there as well, and we got the job done.
Well, that's good. Oh, because I really feel like if you didn't have Mark there, then especially with you being a woman, he was definitely going to just pull the wool over your eyes and then bail.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because, yeah, like, just going off of what you said, like, the issues that I go through as a woman in this industry, that's another one, too. Like, had
Mhm.
I went by myself, I probably would have never been able to perform.
Mhm.
But with Mark there, of course, he was able to, nip all the issues, all the possible issues in the bud.
Mhm.
So the night went smooth, and my performance was A1. So, and I appreciate Mark for that.
Mhm. Why don't you explain to me your goals as a nerdcore rapper? Like, what do you hope to achieve in the long run?
In the long run, it's funny because like it's actually been on my mind for a while, like, asking myself, like, okay, Crimson, like, where do you want this to go? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? And of course, as an artist, I do want to be successful and, be financially stable within this industry. But I had to think to myself, like, okay, you're getting to the point, you're getting close to 30 now, because I just turned 27 last month. And I realized, I'm like, you should start looking into different artists, that would be interested and making music, specifically nerdcore, as a career, and start reaching out to them. Like in the long run, I really want to help the next generation get where they need to be. And I even had to tell myself, hey, even if they surpass me and go further and beyond, that's fine. Like that's what each generation is expected to do. So yeah, I definitely want to start, reaching out to the youth and,
Mhm.
trying to figure out what they would like to do, what they would be interested in. Because I personally believe that, as we get older, our job is to help groom the next generation, show them the ropes and help them so they don't have to necessarily go through a lot of the stuff that I had to go through to get, to this position right now. And I'm still a growing artist.
Mhm.
In the long run, I really want to help like the youth for sure.
Mhm. How do you think that would what do you think that would look like as far as helping kids or the next generation of artists? Like what would that look like to you?
To me,
Mhm.
I would say, because I'm not really sure. Like back when I was younger, we had so many after school programs, like just through my elementary school, and then there was a program that was like at a church that had, an agreement with the school that I went to, and we would go there like every Tuesday, whether we would do arts and crafts, tutoring, and get into sports there. So I would love to bring that back, especially like within the city, within Detroit public schools, because, as I got older, a lot of those programs were taken away.
Mhm.
So I would definitely love to look into that. And even, even if I got to the point where I'm financially stable, I would love to like get, have myself and other different artists, come together and even open a building to make that happen. Like, I think that'll be great.
Mhm. Do you see your career taking you out of the state of Michigan at some point, or would you rather just stay here in Michigan and do your career?
I'm willing to travel. I'm always willing. I love traveling. So I know eventually I will have to, go venture and go into different states. I will probably still stay in Michigan more than likely as far as, living here, but I'm definitely willing to travel because, it's a whole world beyond just, Detroit or even Michigan, or even the US. I want to see it all and study and look at different cultures and perspectives from other people. So I know for sure I will leave Michigan, but I know like in the long run it won't be for long.
What kind of mistakes have you made in your career, and how are you a better artist because of it?
Man, I made quite a few. But to be specific, just doing research like I know back in 2016 I had ran into an issue where I was actually promised to perform at a festival in Texas. Well, South by Southwest.
Mm.
And at the time I was with a different group. This was before I ended up being in Soundproof. And so, we all came together, brought our money together to pay for the slot. Once we got there, we weren't able to perform, and in a sense, like it seemed like it was a waste of time.
How come y'all weren't able to perform?
We got scammed. Like we
Oh my
got
god.
scammed. It was bad. Like we ended up going down there. The promoter wasn't even in Texas. And we even went to the venue where we were supposed to perform. And the people at the venue told us like, this show that you guys are talking about isn't even on the schedule. Yeah,
Mm.
just yeah, it was it was bad. And I felt bad because, I'm the one that had brought it up to my group. I was like, hey, we should do this, you guys. And, and it ended up being a fail. So,
Mm.
yeah, that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've made. But, like I said before, you just got to learn. You got to learn from them. And, you got to kind of like see the signs
Mhm.
for what they are in order to not go through those situations again.
Right. And when you were in this group, this was when you guys didn't have a manager, correct?
Right, right. We didn't have any management. We were pretty much doing stuff on our own
Hmm.
back then, you know. So yeah, it was yeah, this was back in 2016. Yep, 2016. So 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are some things that you do to keep your mental health in check and to keep yourself performance ready?
I love that question. The best things that I usually do, because I just got back into meditating, because I started meditating about 2 3 years ago,
Mm.
and then I had stopped. But I'm slowly but surely trying to get back into the routine of meditating for sure. I also not only just write for music, but also write how I'm feeling throughout the day, what I could do to feel better about certain situations going on in my personal life and stuff like that. I also do my best to, not bring back my issues at my 9 to 5 back home. Whatever's going on at work, I keep it at work.
Hmm.
So, because I know, like, just, before we even started the podcast today, just I was telling you how my work schedule has been, because it could be like not only a physical strain, but a mental strain as well.
Hmm.
Because I know, being in there most of the times, I'm like, man, I wish I could, be at the studio now working on what I really want to work on. And then I also give myself a nice amount of time each week, to myself, doing stuff that I like, whether it's drawing, playing the video game, just completely like not even writing music, because overall, even though it's something I love to do as well, it's still a job.
Right.
So to give myself that mental break from, writing, lyrics and stuff like that, I try my best to do stuff that makes me happy and stuff that I would like to do on my free time.
Hmm. Now, you just had an album come out February 14th, correct?
Yes.
And that's your EP.
Yes, it's an EP.
Okay. Explain real quick what an EP is, and then talk about what your recent EP was about.
So it's funny because, like, before I was even introduced to what an EP is, all my projects would really just be mixtapes.
Hmm.
So an EP is basically an extended playlist. So it would not necessarily have the same time as an LP, because an LP is basically an album, which like can range between 8 to 20 tracks for an album. So an EP would basically be a shorter version of an album. And like so far since I've done my name change, I've been putting out EPs just to give bits and pieces of like my lyrical abilities, my personal life to my fan base. For her, well, title is abbreviated 4H. It's an EP that I decided to create to talk about my dating life, also kind of put it around self-love,
Hmm.
because the way the EP starts, it starts with the first song, which is titled Finn, and in a sense a breakup song. So it talks about my issues and a past relationship, and then it goes on to the next song, which is Chauffeur, which is kind of like a flashback when things were good, of course, in the relationship. And then the third song is called For You, kind of like fast forwarding a little bit and talking about the things that I should have done better in the relationship that I was in, and trying to make it better, and then coming to the realization like, hey, you love this person, you appreciate this person, but at the same time, you got to love yourself before you can love somebody else. You have to take care of you.
I love that. I really love
Thank you.
that. This complete overarching of an ended relationship into self. I really love that. That's so.
Yes.
And I said this in one of my other episodes with another fellow actress, Andrea Patterson, where she just everything that she was saying just sounded absolutely poetic. But that right there, that I love hearing answers from my guests where it just has that poetic quality, and that was definitely poetic.
Oh,
That
thank you.
was yeah, that's really nice. But yeah, so What advice would you have for any aspiring nerdcore rappers?
The best advice really that I can give is go for it. Like whatever ideas that you have as far as like music or, even music video concepts, go for it. Like if you believe in it, do it. Like because at the end of the day, no one else is expected to believe in your vision until you believe in it. Like at that point, you have to like put whatever you believe in out and manifest it into whatever you want, and then the rest of the world look at it and be like, wow, this is really good. But you have to believe that it's dope before anyone else can.
Hmm.
So just go for whatever you believe in, because just it, especially in nerdcore, because just growing up, I was always looked at as like, well, why you watch anime? That's weird and stuff like that. But at the time, I didn't realize 10 years from now, and well, 10 years from then, that I would even like rap about the stuff that I love right now. Like being 11, 12 years old, no
Hmm.
one could have told me like you're gonna make a song about anime references and stuff like that, and people are gonna love it. So because everybody's into everything, you know what I'm saying, and it's like just be you, be yourself, be as honest to yourself as possible, and the people that respect it will respect it and love you for
That's nice.
it.
That's really nice. It's so inspirational. So now we're reaching the end of our talk today, and this last question is called the Queen's Request. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, so why don't you give me one or two Black women artists in any genre, whether if it's poetry or dancing or singing or acting, that you think we should be keeping an eye out for in Michigan.
Okay, cool. One artist, I'll give you a woman that's a hip hop artist and a woman that is a singer. So I have she's a good friend of mine, and she's amazing and she's dope, and I actually look up to her. There's an artist named Joey Red. She's incredible. I actually had her perform at my release party for the EP that came out in February. She's a dope artist.
Hmm.
She's just like, and it's crazy because everything she touches, like as far as like rapping, she kills it. She
Hmm.
absolutely murders it. Definitely look out for Joey Red, and it's funny because I actually have a song coming out with her, titled Berserk. So that's coming out this month. But yeah, be on the lookout for Joey Red. She's an incredible up and coming
Hmm.
artist, and she inspires me to be a better artist. Another artist from here, she sings, and it's funny because I don't know her personally, and I never met her in person or anything like that. But her name's Charity. She's incredible. She sings, she plays the guitar, and she actually also just dropped her first album called Tenderheaded. It's the epitome of like black magic, like black girl magic. It's so incredible. It's available on all streaming platforms. It's titled Tenderheaded by Charity. Like I think she's probably gonna be like the next best artist to come out of Detroit. So yeah, check
Hmm.
both of them out.
Oh, that's really cool. Have you ever heard of the artist Singer Rain?
Mm, I have, yeah.
The only reason why I know about her is because of Elise King when I was interviewing her. She and Singer Rain, they had a Instagram talent show, and it was really cool. They were getting different acts around Detroit, and they would split screen and they would perform their art, and it was really cool. But in the background, she was playing one of Singer Rain's songs, and Singer Rain has just this beautiful, absolutely beautiful, deep alto voice. And I think hearing both you and Singer Rain on a track would be really awesome. Like
Yeah,
really, really, really awesome.
yeah. I actually recently heard about her because a friend of mine, he's a producer. Shout out to Aunt Bill. He sent me her Instagram live, and she was like previewing a few of her tracks. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she's dope. I would definitely love to
Mm-hmm.
work with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I would pay good money to hear y'all perform together. Well, thank you so much for finally getting this episode together with me. I'm glad that we finally got this chance to really sit down and talk and really get into, allowing me to get into your head.
Oh, thanks for having me again. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about the scheduling. It's been crazy
Ow.
getting back into the world and the world opening kind of
Yeah.
prematurely and trying to get back into the swing of things. So, thanks for bearing with me. I greatly
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I totally understand. Everything is going haywire, and I myself, I'm trying to get in as many interviews as I can, because everybody's starting to go back to work. I know that I'm still gonna be home for a while for myself. Because I was an after school program teacher. They asked, "Hey, do you want to do the summer camp?" I said no, and and I'm also working for a theater. So, like I said, I'm doing data entry work from home. So at least that's one paycheck.
Hey, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Like I like even though everything is like opening back up, I just tell like, my family and friends like, hey, even though the world is open, I would still social distance because I still have this
Yeah.
feeling like there's a second wave of this virus that's gonna, come about. So
Yeah.
it's always good to be better safe than sorry.
Hmm. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate this talk.
Thank you for having me and having this platform for me and other artists to be on here and share our thoughts with you.
Yeah. Thanks.